All right, combathletes all over the world, welcome to the Combathlete YouTube channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, congratulations, you've made it. Subscribe straight away because this channel is going to change your life as it relates to strength and conditioning for your combat sports performance. And if you're watching this on the Skool group, Combathletes Worldwide, welcome as well. This group is really going to help you take your performance to another level. My goal with the Skool group is to make it the best combat sports community in the world. Strength and conditioning is notoriously difficult for combat sports athletes. I'm looking to change that and giving you as much free information and high value knowledge that I can, that I use every day in my day job to help you guys. My name's Harry. I'm a strength and conditioning coach. I have the CSCS qualification. I've had that since 2022. I've been in the coaching space since about 2017, and I work with amateur and professional combat sports athletes across all the disciplines all over the world. And so I have skin in the game as well. I'm a grappler. I've been competing and training in grappling since 2016 as well, mostly no gi, a little bit of gi as well. I have a purple belt. So I'm in the game. I know what I'm doing, and I help guys all over the world, and now I want to help you as much as possible. The goal for today is to go through how to structure your training year with your strength and conditioning, because if you understand how to do this, a lot of your training is taken care of. You just need to understand some basic principles and some basic understanding around periodization and planning, and then you can really get to work and structure your training year. And we're going to use what's called the 5-3 fight method. I'm going to teach you how to use it and how to use it without screwing it up, basically. Big shout out to my coaching mentor, Johnny Reynolds, who's helped me understand more about how this 5-3 fight method works in the sense of implementing it. I've actually been doing something pretty much equivalent since I've been in the coaching space with combat sports athletes, but using the 5-3 fight method framework is a big shout out to Johnny. He's really helped out on that. So let's get stuck into it. You're going to want to take some notes on this. This is going to change the game for you. So 5-3 fight method, what is it? Basically, we have 5 phases that we go through in season and 3 phases that we cycle in off season. What do we mean when we say in season for combat sports athletes? Really simple. You've got something booked in and you're working towards it. Could be a tournament, could be a fight, could be a debut appearance, could be a super fight, whatever it is, something's booked in. Off season, nothing's booked in, but we want to keep the technical skill ticking over, and we want to keep strength and conditioning ticking over. We want to stay strong, we want to stay fit. So those are the kind of, when we say seasons, that's what we're referring to. Okay. Let's have a look at the in-season model then. So you've got something booked in the calendar. Let's look at 5 phases as how it relates to planning your training year. Okay. It's important to understand when we're talking about these phases, I'm not referring to the traditional block periodization method that is often taught. I call it the kind of 1997 periodization model. When I was studying for my CSCS qualification in the National Strength and Conditioning Association textbook, this is actually what they push as the way to periodize and plan. In my opinion, it's not the best way. Traditional block periodization, which means focusing on one quality each phase, is very limiting. And for combat sports, it doesn't work. What these phases are different emphases on certain qualities, but actually the periodization model that we use is concurrent, which means we're developing lots of qualities in the athlete simultaneously as we go through their strength and conditioning. So we've got 2 different models that we can use, okay? We've got the 12-week model or the 8-week model. Usually, when you get a booking for some kind of fight or tournament, you get about 8 weeks notice, ideally. But even better than that, if you can get 12 weeks notice, then 12 weeks is really good because it gives you plenty of time to prepare across, more or less a 3-month camp as opposed to a 2-month camp. Let's have a look at the 12-week example for in-season then. What does that look like using the 5-3 fight method? So the first phase is going to be a strength endurance and general physical preparation, GPP phase. Okay, that doesn't mean that's all we're going to be doing, but that is the emphasis. These are the adaptations we're trying to chase, and this is going to be our first phase. This is going to be 12 weeks out in the 12-week model, surprise, surprise, which is going to be 2 weeks in duration. We're just going to run this for 2 weeks. So what are we focusing on for this? Work capacity. Okay, what does that mean? The ability to handle more work, to be fitter, and to be able to recover faster between your training sessions, between your sparring rounds, between, week to week. It's a great time to do testing, establish some numbers in phase 1. Okay, where are you currently at? How fit are you? We need to know some of these things, counter movement jump tests, broad jump tests, max watts tests for kind of your power output. These kind of things are really, really great to put in phase 1 just to see where we're at. It's also a good time to focus on lifting techniques for something new. Okay, so if you're learning a new lift, if maybe you've never bench pressed before, now's the time to learn it, okay? Maybe you've never really deadlifted from the floor, or you're not too familiar with how to do trap bar work, for example. This is the time where we can focus on that. And one of the main adaptations we're chasing in the body is hypertrophy. It's building a little bit of muscle. Now, we've only got kind of a couple of weeks to do it, but it's going to give us a good base and a good foundation for the work to come. If we jump past this phase, especially if you've had time off and you haven't been training in your off season, it can be more difficult to layer these qualities that we're chasing later that you're going to see in phase 2, phase 3, etc., further down the line. So we need to put in this good foundation early. How is it going to work each week in phase 1 then? You're going to have 3 sessions per week, but really it's only going to be 2 sessions that you're going to rotate. You can have session A in week 1, followed by session B and then session A again to give you 3 sessions in week 1. And then week 2, session B, session A, and then session B again. Okay, and those are the rotations that you're going to work with to give you 3 sessions per week. Nice and simple. Medium intensity sessions then for all of them. For session A, for session B, they're going to be medium intensity. Again, we're starting the 12-week camp. It doesn't need to be crazy high intensity. We're going to get to higher intensity stuff further down the line. Medium intensity is fine for now. What does that mean then in terms of programming? It means you're going to work in the 3 to 5 set range. Okay, especially week 1, you're probably going to start around 3 sets, building up over those couple of weeks in the 8 to 12 rep range. Why 8 to 12? Previous slide, we talked about hypertrophy as one of the main qualities and main adaptations we're chasing. 8 to 12 rep range gives us that. So that's why we're doing 3 to 5 sets of 8 to 12 reps. The conditioning focus at this stage in the camp is quite simple. Steady state work, okay? Using one modality. So for example, jumping on the assault bike, keeping the heart rate between 130 and 150 BPM and just cruising for 30 to 60 minutes, okay? Aerobic capacity work, the ability to improve that base of your gas tank, again, so you can recover faster between sessions, recover faster between rounds. Strongman circuits, this is something that Johnny opened my eyes to. Making, 2, 3, 4 exercises back to back in some kind of circuit. So doing lots of stuff like carries, loaded carries, crawls, these kind of things to create strongman circuits. Actually really, really good fun to do as well. This is the time to implement this in phase 1. Phase 2 then, what does base strength look like? And why are we doing it as phase 2 and not anywhere else? So base strength, as it suggests, we're laying a foundation for strength work now. The hypertrophy work has been done in phase 1. Now we're going to look at actually building the base for getting stronger. This is going to be at 10 weeks out. Okay, we've done the first 2 weeks for strength, endurance and GPP. Now we're into base strength, 10 weeks out, 3 weeks in duration for this phase, so a tiny bit longer. And we're going to be chasing these adaptations. The focus is force development. We're trying to develop the ability of the body to produce the force and higher amounts of it, developing the amount that we can produce there. Methods that we use a lot in this phase, eccentrics, okay? So slowly lowering the weight with gravity. 4 seconds down, 3 seconds down, 6 seconds down if you're a sadist, right? Eccentrics work really, really well for laying a foundation for strength work. Clusters, you might have done some cluster work before where you have a little mini break in between reps. So for example, 2-2-2, you do 2 reps, have a 20-second rest, 2 reps, 20-second rest, another 2 reps, that kind of thing. And then plyometrics as well. There's going to be some basic level plyometrics introduced into this phase. And this is where you can see this is not the traditional block periodization approach at all. It's actually quite concurrent. Okay. We're going to drop down to 2 sessions a week and pretty much 2 sessions a week for the rest of the camp. This is how it rotates. Nice and simple. A and B for your 3 weeks. Really, really simple. These are going to be medium to high intensity sessions. As you go through these 3 weeks, the intensity is going to ramp up a little bit, starting at medium for week 1 and then going into weeks 2 and 3, the intensity will ramp up, which means for sets and reps for this phase 2 is going to be 3 to 5 sets, but in the 3 to 5 rep range. This is how we build strength, guys. 3 to 5 reps, not 8 to 12s. 8 to 12s gives us a good foundation for hypertrophy, but 3 to 5 reps starts to build a good level of base strength. The conditioning focus is going to change a little bit now. Okay, so now we've built the foundation in phase 1 with your aerobic capacity. Now we're looking a little bit more at the lactic power and lactic capacity ability and aerobic power as well. So these conditioning methods, they're a little bit more intense. Okay, they're a little bit more of a dirty burn when you do them. And it's important that we put these in. And the reason we put these in at phase 2 is because they go quite well with the strength work. They pair well with the base strength work that we're doing. Phase 3 then, the fun one, if you're a strength head like me, max strength. This one's really, really cool. This is a higher intensity phase, you know, as suggested by the name maximum strength. This is going to be at 7 weeks out of your 12-week camp, and this is also going to be 3 weeks in duration. The focus here again is force development, but the top end of it, okay? Strength speed is the kind of category that we're focusing on, okay, which is, you know, high intensity weights. You might have seen bands and chains that you see guys add on to the barbells for certain lifts, usually, you know, like your box squats, banded trap bar deadlift, that kind of thing. Clusters and partials, we talked about clusters for the previous phase, but partials, reducing the range of motion slightly in some of your major lifts. So instead of doing a full back squat, for example, back squatting to a box, instead of deadlifting from the floor, deadlifting from blocks, those kind of things, lifting off pins, yeah, such as Zercher squats off pins or pressing over your head off of pins. And then plyometrics are also available in this phase. They're also present. And then again, it's 2 sessions per week, A and B, really simple to program across 3 weeks. High intensity sessions. So if you're looking at the percentage of your 1 rep max, we're working in the 80 to 100% range here. Okay, so it's pretty hardcore, but we've built up to this. Okay, we're not jumping in at this level of intensity. We've built up to this. So this is a good time to do it. How does that look in terms of programming? No more than 3 sets. Okay, we're not powerlifters. We're not in a strength sport. We're not Olympic weightlifters. Don't need to be doing any more than 3 sets to get the adaptation of maximal strength. 2 to 5 rep range. Okay, you notice there's no real heavy 1 rep max work in there where you just do 1 repetition as high as you can. The reason for that is we don't really need to. Often the technique of a lift is better if there's more than 1 rep. When you're doing your absolute 1 rep max, it can be quite common for the technique to break down, and then that's where kind of safety becomes questionable. We don't need to do that. So 2 to 5 rep range is perfect for the max strength work. Conditioning focus, slightly different now, okay? It's still going to be high intensity, but it's slightly different. Aerobic power is still present. Muscle buffering work, okay? So getting the muscles to fill up with that lactate, which is a real horrendous feeling usually, but then building the body's ability to buffer that and shift that lactate around. And max effort work, so sprints is the easiest way to think of that. And again, these conditioning modalities, they fit really, really well to the max strength side of things in the weight room. Phase 4 then, the power phase. So this is where we're not far out now, 4 weeks out from fight night or 4 weeks out from the performance that you've booked into your calendar. And this is also going to be 3 weeks in duration. Okay. Now this is an interesting phase because towards the end of this phase is where the calories get shifted if you've got a weight cut. So this is where we have to be smart on this stuff. In terms of what we're doing then for the focus for the power phase, this is what it looks like. Force production now. Okay, so really breaking the inertia of the bar off the floor and moving the bar as fast as possible. Okay, another way of thinking about this, especially if you're familiar with triphasic work, is the concentric focus or focusing on the part of the rep that goes against gravity now, moving it as fast as you can on the way up. Another way of thinking about this as a category is speed strength work. In the max strength phase, we looked more at strength speed, now speed strength. So the actual amount of weight we're going to use is going to be a little bit less than the max strength phase, but we're trying to move that weight as fast as possible. Some of the methods we use still are clusters and partials, just like we did in the max strength phase, and we've still got plyos available here as well. Again, 2 sessions per week, super simple to program. Just an A session and a B session is all you need. And then they're going to be high intensity sessions, but the weights that we use are going to vary. So again, this is not traditional block periodization, guys. This is more of a concurrent model. We're doing lots of things at the same time. We're just emphasizing certain qualities each phase. So we still will do heavy weights between 80 to 100% of your 1RM, but we're also going to move weights that are much lighter at 60 to 80% as fast as we can, and even lighter still, 40 to 60% super, super fast. In terms of your programming, 3 sets is ample and 3 to 6 rep range is also perfect here. Notice there's no heavy singles in this phase, at least 3s when it comes to the programming side. And then for your conditioning, pretty similar to the max effort phase, aerobic power, muscle buffering, and sprints as well. Because of the nature of approaching fight night, some of these sprints will start to taper down in duration. Okay, so we're not really going to be doing like long time intervals for your sprints. They're going to be quite short and sharp, quite quick and quite dirty, but still high intensity. And then we're in phase 5, which is the speed phase. Now, this is really for fight week. This is 1 week out, and it's only a week in duration. And to be honest, the amount of sessions that you're going to have is probably just 1, maybe 2 at a push. This really is focused on peaking the athlete. We're trying to peak you ready for the tournament or the fight night or whatever you've got booked in, the key performance you've got on the calendar. Methods that we use, again, are just focusing on the concentric phase. We're not going to be doing any naughty, long duration eccentrics here because that's just going to smoke the athlete. You've got to remember the calories are really, really minimal now as well if you're cutting weight. So concentric focus, basically think of it almost as it's half a repetition really, just focusing on the way up. Overcoming isometrics are a great tool to use in this phase, which is basically trying to move an immovable object, 6, 8, 10 seconds of effort. Banded only movements, they're super kind as well, super safe to do if the athlete is depleted. And extensive plyos, you kind of, your pogos, your hops, these kind of things where the reps are a little bit higher, 20 to 30 reps through extensive plyos, but they're not brutal on the body. So we just don't have the fuel right now to do anything too crazy. 1 to 2 sessions on fight week. Usually you'll find it's 1 session, especially with the pros when they've got media obligations and they're having to do all sorts of different interviews, and that can have its own kind of, it taxes the body and the mind in a different way. It's rare you're going to do any more than this on fight week. And again, it's not sensible to be doing any more than that whilst you're depleted. The last thing we want is something to go wrong. So these sessions are low to medium intensity. The weights that we use or the resistances that we use are very, very low as it relates to 1 rep max. It's 20 to 40%. Yeah, it's nothing wild. 2 to 3 sets, 3 to 5 reps if we're working more on the power side of things, and then up to 10 reps on speed. Okay, and again, this is peaking the athlete. This is all the hard work we've done on previous 4 phases is now coming to a head for this peak week. For the conditioning, alactic max effort sprints, we're talking 10 seconds of work and less, and some muscle buffering work. Something like the 12 seconds on, 48 seconds off model works quite well here. But again, nothing too wild because of the depleted amounts of fuel in the tank there. What about an 8-week example then? I mean, it's all very well having a 12-week camp. That is the ideal, but very often, especially in the amateur and, early professional levels, 8 weeks is more common. Amateurs are often more active throughout the year than pros anyway, because they're trying to get more experience and more fights in. So what about 8-week example? What would that look like? So for an 8-week example, you're going to start on phase 2. You're actually going to jump ahead. And this is implying that you've actually been training in your off season and you've been doing some GPP or general physical preparation work. You haven't just been a slob and sat on the couch for that time. So you're going to start on phase 2, which we know is the base strength. And it's just going to be 2 to 3 weeks in duration. 3 weeks if you feel like you need more of it. 2 weeks if you feel like you've got a good grasp on the basics. Max strength work, 5 weeks out. Again, 2 to 3 weeks. If you feel like you need 3 weeks because, you just need to get as strong as possible, then go for 3. If you're already pretty strong, 2 weeks will do the job. And then your power phase, 3 weeks out, getting a solid 2 weeks in is sensible there. And that makes up your 8-week model. As it relates to the speed phase, that is always going to be in fight week. So your last week will always be focused on that again, because even if it's an 8-week camp, that doesn't change the fact that you're going to have to cut calories and still be depleted. So how does this work then in terms of how are you going to do this for yourself on your calendar? This is the easiest way to do it, is work backwards. So you've been told from the promotion when your fight date is, okay? They've told you, we've given you a date, in this instance, 25th of July, okay? You're fighting on 25th of July. So what you're going to do is you're going to open your calendar and you're going to mark 25th of July, which happens to be my birthday, on the calendar. That's the fight night. That's when we need to be peaked and ready for. So we're going to work back. So we know the final phase is going to be speed, phase 5. So that means on the calendar, that's going to look like July 20th to July 25th. That week is speed week. That is fight week. Okay. And then you just keep working back from there. Power, in this instance, would be July 6th to the 19th. Keep working back for max strength, June 22nd to July 5th, etc. So just keep working backwards until your 8 or 12 week camp is built. If you always work backwards, then it will just be so much simpler with your planning. Okay, off-season then. What do we think of off-season, or what do we kind of, what makes up the off-season? Off-season is when there's nothing booked in. Okay. For pros, they'll have far more of an off-season each year than amateurs. Amateurs are pretty much in season all the time, and we just rotate through those phases because, like I said, they want to get the volume, they want to get the experience. But pros, you're going to have far more of an off-season section each sort of calendar year. For the off-season, it's really simple. You're just going to repeat 3 of the 5 phases on a cyclical basis to keep things ticking over and actually make some really good gains. So you're going to start with phase 2, which is your base strength, and that's going to be 3 weeks in duration. We know what constitutes that. Phase 3 is going to be max strength, 3 weeks in duration. So you go base strength, 3 weeks, max strength, 3 weeks, and then you're going to go into power, phase 4, for 3 weeks in duration. And you're just going to rotate those 3 through and through and just repeat the cycle. Okay, so off-season cycle, base strength 3 weeks, max strength 3 weeks, power 3 weeks. And round it goes. And you can do that for as long as your off-season is for, whether it's, in this case, a minimum of 9 weeks in the off-season, anywhere up from there, to be honest with you. Combathletes Worldwide then. Join the Skool group. Make sure you get in there. It's going to be the best informational resource possible. That's my goal with this. And it's going to be free. Okay. To say thank you for joining the group and to help you as much as I can, you're going to get access to booking a free performance call with me, where we're going to have a chat about your training, and I'm going to help you as much as I can on that call to really give you some value and give you some actionable items that you can go away and, input into your training to get more out of it. So book a free performance call with me. The way you do that is you're going to join the Skool group, and inside the Skool group, you'll get access to the call booking link, and then you'll be able to have a chat with me. And make sure, guys, you follow me at Combathlete Arena on Instagram. I'm always available if you need to send DMs. If you've got any questions about your training, drop me a message on there. Thanks to Johnny, my mentor, for helping me with all of this and kind of really just boiling it down into a simple structure. And also leave some comments below, guys, on this YouTube video about what do you struggle with your training, with your strength and conditioning? What do you need help with? Because this is the first video in a series. The goal is to build a really solid course in the Skool group so that you guys can really solve a lot of your training problems for free from a professional like myself who actually knows what they're doing and does this day in, day out for my day job, helping guys all over the world. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you inside the Skool group, Combathletes Worldwide.